Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So let's talk about the market today because we have quite a doozy of a market today. Yeah, all over the place, really. Just let's talk about it. So if you guys enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. Let's jump into it. Tesla ending the day down 3.69%, putting us at $207.37 compared to the market, a severe underperformance because the market actually ended up about 1.5%, right, on average. So Tesla should have been up about, maybe 2.5 to 3%. Instead, it was actually down. But the thing that makes it even more interesting is the fact that we did start the day actually up. I think we were up about, at the peak, almost 4%. We went from being up 4%. From peak to lowest, we went down 9%. So if you bought today at the top, and let's say in theory you sold at the bottom, that's 9%, right? Which is insane. So an insanely wild day, extremely volatile for Tesla today. And deny that, I don't know what that is. Yeah, so we pretty much had like a massive selling block over here. I don't know what happened here. Maybe it was Elon selling. There was some selling happen here by some really big person. Who knows who it was or what it was, but it was similar to this one over here. You can see very, very similar concept, right? We came up to the exact same level pretty much, and then we just have this massive sell-off down to pretty much the exact same level, right? So literally exactly what happened here is what happened here, right? Almost exactly the same, like almost to the T, which makes you, makes me a little bit suspicious. What does that really mean, right? However, all that being said and done, I don't think we'll ever find out what that actually means. What we can do is at least try to understand what this means going forward, right? So let's talk about that. So first and foremost, when we said there was a bear trap over, I think over here, we were right because we went from here all the way up to 223. So that was definitely a bear trap. Unfortunately, we came right into a massive bull trap. And now I think we came into what potentially could be a massive bear trap. So let's talk about that, right? So as you can see, I already have it on the screen here. Personally, what I envision here, or what I see happening here, and this is exactly what I wanted to happen. I did buy shares today. Actually, averages pretty much just slightly higher than what we closed at today. I bought at 210 and then I bought again at 205. But essentially, I see an inverted head and shoulders at the very moment, right? So that's what I personally see happening at the very moment. That's a pretty bullish pattern. It's a very standard pattern. It's happening on the daily, which is even more important in my opinion. So as long as we can hold this, I am extremely bullish. Now it is, of course, dangerous, and we're still technically walking on thin ice because for this to completely fall apart, we would pretty much have to lose more or less the level that we were at today. Like when we were at the low point of today, that was getting kind of risky. Like back when we were trading somewhere around this like 2 or 3 level, like that was already getting, pretty risky. Like this was getting really close to getting invalidated, like extremely close. Like we needed a bounce really fast, and I was talking to my friend about it. Thankfully, we actually got it pretty quickly. So that's what I wanted to see, which is really good news so far. But essentially, the easiest way of thinking about it is we want to hold pretty much this level that we bounced off of, like this 204 level. We want to hold it. And if we fall below it, we want to get sucked back up as fast as possible. Thankfully, that happened today. But the most important thing is the fact that it continues to happen. We don't want to lose this. Now, if we do lose this level, we will come down to this pretty much 200-ish level, give or take a few points, to potentially do a double bottom over here. Those are the last two, I guess, options the bulls have. Either option A is just to hold this inverted head and shoulders. We hold this area, this 204 here, and don't go any lower. Or if we do go lower, not for long, of course, right? Get sucked up, the buying pressure comes in really, really fast, and we bounce like the way we did today. Or we do lose this level, we come down to around this 200 level, and then bounce from there. And then have essentially what could be potentially seen as a double, arguably even a quad bottom at this point, honestly, because you can see we never actually had a candle close lower than this kind of like 205-ish level, right? That's really important to keep in mind. So we have a bounce here, then we had a nice, we came down here, we had a beautiful bounce, came all the way down to the same pretty much level, went actually lower, but we never really closed the candle, bounced off, came down again today, bounced off. So that's a triple bottom at the moment. So potentially we'll have maybe a quad bottom coming up, but at the moment we have an inverted head and shoulders and a quad bottom, or a triple bottom. And technically the triple bottom can arguably be still useful or validated or valid, I guess, even if we come down to 200, but ideally we still close above 204. But technically if we close even at like 200 or just slightly above 200, like maybe 201 or 200.5 or whatever, that in my opinion could still be valid, but it does get a little bit more, scary because, we are starting to close at levels we haven't closed at before. So that's just something to consider. But ultimately, I'm personally still bullish, believe it or not. Even on this massive red day, which was an absolute massive bull trap up here, bear trap, bull trap, bear trap, potentially, right? So as long as we hold this, in my opinion, I think it's still looking fine. However, if we unfortunately go to the Bollinger Band, we did actually bounce off the red line, so we might come back up to the white line. And again, we are still overall congested. I still think a massive move is coming. This wasn't the massive move. It is still congested. It is still pretty tight. It's going to be much bigger than that. And I still think we're going to probably trade within this range a little bit more before that move happens. So we'll see what happens with that. It might happen end of next week, in all honesty. Following that, we have the 50 moving average and the 200 moving average sitting well above us, so we don't care about those just yet. And then, of course, we also have the 10 and the 5, which we are now essentially trading underneath, which isn't ideal. However, right, the thing that you want to pay attention to, the most important levels, guys, essentially is 204-ish for the bulls to hold and the bears to want to break. And then for the bulls to break and the bears to want to hold, it is 230. Those are the most important levels by far. Like, you want to make sure you're paying attention to those levels, by far the most important ones, right? So as long as we're in between those two levels, an actual direction can't for sure be said, but if one of those two levels starts to break and collapse, you start getting especially daily candle closures either below that, roughly 204 level or above that 230 level, that is when, you can start validating a move to either the downside or the upside respectively, right? So that's essentially the way I'm seeing it at the very moment. The VIX is still somehow getting a lot of red, even though the market was kind of all over the place today. It just cannot find any form of bounce, which, is a little bit suspicious. So we'll see what happens with that as well. I don't like the fact that the VIX is still red like this. In a way, it's just really strange. Again, something about that just is not adding up still. But this is pretty much a perfect example of why I always say, guys, in a market like this, you don't want to get greedy. You don't want to do really stupid plays. Financial advice, of course, make your own decisions, do your own research. But you don't want to do really stupid greedy plays, guys, because I think today was probably one of the best examples of a day where, man, I feel like bulls and bears got slaughtered today. I really do, right? So just be really careful, ladies and gentlemen. Just, make sure you're not doing completely stupid YOLO short-term plays, especially with options. Make sure you understand your risk and your tolerance and all that stuff. But either way, guys, that's essentially what I'm seeing at the moment, right? Taking a very quick look at the weekly, you can see we are actually still holding above this general level, which is not too bad, right? We are still trading around this congestion over here, similar to where we closed this week over here, and we had a nice, beautiful bounce from it still. So, it's not looking that bad. The bears rather definitely try their best here, but the bulls are still holding it. There's still definitely a chance for us to get a beautiful bounce. I still think honestly, there's still a chance to go all the way up to like 250 or something like that. But the main levels, again, are to hold this 204-ish level, and especially to break 230 to really unlock the potential to the upside. But most importantly, you want to hold 230. You don't want to just break it and just collapse under. You want to hold it and ideally get a daily closure above it. 4-hour candle would work as well. But yeah, that's essentially what I'm seeing at the very moment. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think down below. There's a pretty wild market, to say the least. Pretty wild stuff, pretty aggressive stuff as well. So we'll see where it takes us in the next week. But ultimately, I'm still feeling pretty bullish. You can see, even if we open this up, right, we essentially arguably made, almost as low as this, but we're pretty much at the same levels we were here, or like even here, but the RSI is still higher than both those levels, right? So that's a good sign as well. So ultimately, the RSI still looks like it's putting in an ultimate higher low, which isn't bad. So we'll see if that ends up playing out for us next week. And I think next week I mean, it feels like every week is interesting at this point, but we'll see what happens next week as well. But yeah, ultimately, guys, that's essentially what I'm seeing at the very moment. I think I'm still overall bullish until 204 breaks. If we ever have a daily closure below 204, that's when I start getting suspicious, and especially below 200. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you have a great weekend. See you next week. Peace.